Hello, YouTube. Pastor Jack here, and welcome to my study. Today, we're going to be continuing on with our study on the seven seas. We are on the catastrophe or the flood, uh, and we have done a couple of episodes already on it, and I'm probably going to do two today, and the second will be shown tomorrow for you, but I'm going to do them back to back because this is the one I think is the most important of the episodes on the flood. I call this the thinking man's evidence that there was a flood. If the world, lost people are never going to, atheists, let's say at least, are never going to say the Bible's correct. And there's a lot of scientists out there who are atheists who just will put out stuff and it gets drug over into even biblical dictionaries and stuff saying, there's no scientific evidence that there ever was a flood. And that is just an outright lie. I'm going to give you at least nine things here. I'm going to take my time with them, so it's probably going to take 20 minutes or so, so I'll break it up into two episodes. But it's just not true. There are many, many things that each one of them by themselves tells a thinking man, somebody who has not got their mind made up when they look at it, that what the scientists who are atheists say cannot possibly be true, and what the Bible says is almost the only answer. Some of them, there probably could be some other things said that you know, uh, might make you think maybe that other thing is correct. And I'm not saying that's not possible, but it's going to no doubt say the scientists can't be right. And then it's going to lead you to believe that the Bible rendition of the flood is exactly the way it happened. Do all the YouTube stuff, like, subscribe. I'm just unbelievable. On the day of this recording, we're over 5,000 subscribers. That's, I think, pretty much unheard of. I've been looking at other people's channels. It's been going a lot longer, and they don't have that many. And so I know God is blessing it. I know it's nothing I did. I'll tell you that right now. But God, is using this, and so please like, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. It really doesn't matter to me. I don't get a big ego boost out of thumbs up, and I don't get a big ego boost out of a number of subscribers. That doesn't do me anything. But YouTube looks at that stuff, and that determines who else's homepage they put my channel on. And if I'm getting good reviews, a lot of comments, a lot of views, then they're going to put it on more people's channel because they're in business to make money and they sell advertisement on those things. And I don't get any of that advertisement money, but they do, and they enjoy money. So please do those things. All right, let's get started. A lot of the stuff I'm getting, I've read a book several times. It's called From the Genesis Flood, Contents and Collisions. And it's written by Dennis Gordon Lindsay. And it's the only book he's ever written that I've read, and I enjoyed it a lot, and I've read it a couple times. And I don't read a lot of books more than once, I'll be honest with you, but it has so much information in it that I really couldn't gather it all. And some of the things I'm going to talk about comes out of his book. Some of the things are that I read other places, but I will give him, his. I think you can get that on Amazon. I know I have it on my Logos Bible software. I know you can get it there. But he says in the book, and I have no way of backing this up, but he says that 88 cultures. And amazing about this 88, it ain't 44, 44, but like 43, 45 are on the eastern hemisphere versus the western hemisphere. So it's evenly split on 88 cultures that have writings about a flood, a universal, a whole earth flood that took place. Now, does that mean that, does that back up the flood, the biblical flood? Maybe not, but it definitely backs up the Tower of Babel. See, the way the Bible said it happened is the flood took place. And so Noah and his sons and their wives, and Noah's wife was only 8 people left, and they started to multiply. And when it got down to about their great grandkids, God had told them to move across the face of the earth and replenish the earth. And they did, and they all stayed in one place. And down about his great grandsons or so, you can look at it and see for yourself. But they started to build the Tower of Babel. And God confused their communications. And so one morning they got up, and every branch of the family spoke some different language, and they couldn't understand anybody else. And great fear took over, and they dispersed. And that's what God wanted them to do. And they went all over the face of the earth. So it makes sense then that the flood happened and the Tower of Babel happened a few generations later, and that story went into all parts of the earth. And so it really makes the flood, the biblical flood, and the Tower of Babel, it's proof for those taking place just the way the Bible said they took place. Population growth statistics. This is something that just dumbfounded me when I saw this. Um, our growth rate is 2.5, per family. So 2 people get married, they have 2.5 kids. The 0.5 kids looks weird, but that's the average, okay? And that equals a 0.5% growth rate. Now, I agree. There's times in our history that we had a much higher growth rate than that, but there's also been some big wars that killed off large numbers of people. So when you look at it over time, 2.5 is a good growth rate. 0.5% growth rate is what that comes out to be. So if you look at it over 4,000 years, which the biblical account of the flood taking place was now about 4,000 years ago, if you look at that and you use that 0.5% growth rate or 2.5 kids per family, the calculation will come out to be about 5 billion people. Well, if you Google it, people argue there's somewhere they say between 7 and 9 billion people. So we'll call it 8 billion. Well, that 5 billion works out really close, especially when you calculate in, the wars and different things that took place in abortion. We really don't know how to calculate that in, but pretty close. If you did the same growth rate over just a million years, just a million. They used to say that the world was a million years old, and they found out that their theory, Darwin's theory wouldn't work on just millions of years, so now they made it billions of years. But if you just count it as 1 million years at that same growth rate, our population on Earth should be 1 to 21 zeros after it. I don't know what that number is, so I can't begin to say it, but 1 to the 2,100th power. Think about that. 2,100 zeros after it. That's what our population should be using that same growth rate if it was just a million years. So it's not been billions and billions and billions of years. They're lying to you. They don't want to believe the truth. Here's a good one. Water laid centenary rock runs all over the world. This is a kind of rock that comes out of the bottom of a lot of water. It's a kind of rock, and it gets laid by that water and turns into rock whenever it gets dry. And that rock is all over the world. Now they'll argue with you about they ought to be this kind of rock and that kind of rock, and they overlook the fact that one of the rocks that definitely says that water was there is all over the world. So how did it get on the mountains? How did that layer of rock that only could have got there with water over it, how could it possibly be there on top of the mountains unless there was some kind of worldwide, covering the entire world, flood? I tell you, we're going to save the others for the next video. God bless you. Keep the first things first, and I'll see you on the next one.